everybody, and welcome to episode 92. Holy crap, that's a lot of episodes that we've been doing this for. This is episode 92 of Brews, Less Travel, the podcast exploring the best uncharted beer scenes from across America. I'm your host, Brian. Thank you for joining us for this episode. We're back with another month of featured city, new featured breweries, new featured beers, and of course that always comes with a new co-host. So please, everybody, join me in welcoming and saying hi to first time co-host, friend of Brewvana, friend of City Brew Tours, and the owner of the soon to be open City Brew Tours Milwaukee. Talk more about that city in a second. Ken Carrano. How's it going, Ken?
Good, Brian. How you doing today?
I am doing very well. I went to swim class with my daughter earlier today. I did not do any swimming. She did the swimming. It was very fun, though. Good to spend some quality time with the family recently. So
Cool.
yeah, I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Doing well too. Spent some time with my daughter earlier today too. Although she wasn't going to swim class, she was buying a travel trailer for her upcoming move to Utah. So it's she helps build power plants for a living, and she's got to go out to remote Utah to build the next one.
Wow. Big fan of Utah, both as the podcast and myself. I proposed to my wife in Utah and got a lot of very fond memories from that state. So I wish your daughter nothing but the best at her time there.
Thank you.
Well, Ken, why don't you, being at your first time on the show, first time co-hosting, why don't you tell the folks at home, about your love for beer, your beer journey, what has brought you to this podcast episode tonight?
Sure. My love of beer goes way back, as do I. But my craft beer journey started with my wife when we were visiting Cleveland, Ohio in 1989, and went to a neighborhood that was up and coming, but hadn't really up and come yet, and went to Great Lakes Brewing in Cleveland, Ohio, and had my first real craft beer then, and I've been hooked ever since. And we go to a lot of breweries now, and I see all these families, parents bringing their kids, and the kids are playing games and having fun. My wife and I look at each other like, where was all this when our kids were little? Why couldn't we have this kind of fun?
Yeah, I know. I went to a brewery this weekend with my daughter, and she took a nap on the bench.
Perfect.
While I sat there and ate tacos and drank beer. I mean,
perfect.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, great. It's great to have you. I'm really excited to have you this month. Oh, good question from Matt in the chat. Do you remember what beer you had at Great Lakes?
Matt, great question. That was 1989. I barely remember if I washed my hair in the shower this morning. So I do not remember what beer I had in 1989, but it was very good. I do remember that.
I mean, it was probably one of those OG Great Lakes.
It could have been Edmund Fitzgerald. It could have been one of
Elliot
those.
Ness.
Yeah. Elliot Ness.
Yeah. Yeah, cool place in Ohio City there. Cool place, Cleveland beer scene. But we're not here to talk about Cleveland tonight. We are here to talk about Milwaukee, Wisconsin, our featured city for the month. Milwaukee is undoubtedly one of the most influential in as a fact, it's one of the oldest beer cities in America. It is said that the first brewery in Milwaukee was actually founded before the city itself was founded. During the beer boom of the late 19th century, Milwaukee was instrumental in pushing innovations in beer equipment, processes, and quality control. It's said that pasteurization in beer was really revolutionized and maybe even invented in Milwaukee. We'll get into that throughout the month. And really, in those days, in the late 19th century, you drank brewery typically from your regional brewery, your big regional producer. But even then, before distribution and beer bars, people knew about Brew City. People knew about Milwaukee as the place that was revolutionizing beer.
Milwaukee was
And
able to, because of things were so cold as in the upper Midwest, they were able to pack ice, save the they have a lot of ice to keep lagers cool, and they were able to take that and ship beers first down to Chicago after the Great Fire in Chicago, and that's really popularized beer, Milwaukee beer there too.
yeah, and they existed as a juggernaut all throughout the 20th century. But this month, we're going to be talking about four of Milwaukee's somewhat new faces to the beer scene as far as Milwaukee beer history goes. And we are excited to talk about this mecca of the Great Lakes beer region. So tonight, we are featuring Broken Bat Brewing Company, a brewery that was founded in 2017. We're going to be drinking two of their beers here, their Arm Barn Hazy IPA, as well as their Ophir Cold IPA. As I have said on previous streams, 2023 is a year of cold IPA. That's my hot take. And we're going to be joined by a wonderful guest from Broken Bat Brewing Company. I think it's as good as time as any to bring on our guest tonight. So please join us in welcoming the president of Broken Bat Brewing Company, Tim Pauly.
What's up, guys? How's it going?
Hey, Tim.
Hi, Tim.
Happy Tuesday evening to everybody out there.
Happy Tuesday.
Yeah, cheers. Happy Tuesday to you, and happy Tuesday to our beer club subscribers, some of whom are joining us into the chat tonight. Shout out to Yins. You make it all possible. Tim, thanks for joining us. Excited to talk to you. Before we get into these beers, let's get started with our quick sip questions, as we always do. These are fast questions. We want fast answers, and these will help us to get you to know you fast.
Let's do it.
That was real word salad there. So, favorite non-Broken Bat beer?
River West Stein from Lakefront Brewing Company.
Old school Milwaukee craft brewery, the first Milwaukee
so
craft
good
brewery. Yeah.
Still amazing.
Yep, great stuff.
Favorite baseball player of all time?
Of all time, Prince Fielder, Milwaukee Brewers, 2005-ish to about 2013-ish. He was organized chaos in the box, man. So that was my guy.
Shout out to the lefty, Prince Fielder. Old Milwaukee, Miller Lite, or PBR?
Oh, Miller Lite, without question. Easy.
Okay. I'm realizing now that I just spelled Miller Lite in my outline here as Light, and I should be ashamed of myself for that.
That is a crime.
Tim, would you rather have the Brewers win the World Series, their first World Series, or would you rather have Broken Bat win Brewery of the Year at GABF this year?
Give me a Brewers World Series, man. I'll take second place or whatever place we come in at. That's fine. I'm worried I'm going to go to my grave without one of those. So yeah, I'll take a Brewers World Series win.
I understand your pain there. Being a White Sox fan, I had a feeling I wasn't going to make it either, and I've got one in my lifetime. That's probably all I'm going to get.
That 05 was a special run, though, man. That was a good one.
And finally, our final quick sip question. Tim, have you ever seen Bigfoot, a UFO, a ghost?
I have seen a UFO. I'm a firm believer in Bigfoot, and I plan on going ghost hunting with my dad and brother this summer. We're pretty into the paranormal. We call ourselves the Pauly normals. So yeah, we are fans of the great beyond out there, and it's a hell of a lot more fun to believe in it because you can't prove that they don't exist. So once I prove that they do, I win and you lose. So yes. To all the above.
You can't prove a negative, so you're right.
You can't prove me wrong. So yeah, I'm going to stick with it. But yes, I have seen what I believe to be a UFO. I'm a firm believer in the bipedal creatures up in the Himalayas, and big fan of ghost hunting and all things paranormal. So yes.
Great.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. We'll have to have you back on after you do your polynormal ghost
you
trip.
Bet, man. We're getting shirts made and everything. You bet.
I love it.
Well, why don't we open our first beer? Tim, what do you want to tell us about Ophir?
Yeah, let's go with the Ophir. It's as Brian was mentioning, it feels like it's kind of the year of the cold IPA. We came out with this midsummer last year. It is a very light, crisp, clean looking beer in a glass. Our brewer Carl worked on this recipe. We had a few variations we went with before we locked in on this one. Hops are El Dorado, Sabro, and some Mosaic in there. We did a little bit of dry hopping. Basically brewed it just like you would brew an IPA, but we did throw in a little bit of a lager yeast to give it that super crisp and clean flavor. Bumped the ABV a little bit because we want this to kind of be a slow sipping beer. So it's 6.7%. And it's been one of our staples since we came out with it last summer. So we're super happy with it. It's a year-round offering for us now, both at the tap room and in distribution. And yeah, we were very excited when the Bruvana crew was open to taking that as one of our two options. So we appreciate that because we're very, very proud of that beer as it stands.
No, it's a bold move for a brewery to say, hey, we're gonna push our chips into the cold IPA style. It's only been around for 2 years now, I think, maybe
Roughly, yeah.
And this is a great example. I will say this. This is the first beer I've ever had that I've known has Sabro in it, where I don't get like overwhelming coconut. It blends in so well with the El Dorado and the Mosaic and the crispness, and this is just a wonderful beer. Cheers.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it turned out just how we were hoping, and hopefully you guys catch a lot of the light and kind of floral crispness on the nose, and nothing is overpowering. I hope you guys, as you learn a little bit about the couple beers we have with you guys, we really don't go for the overpowering of any flavor. So we're not looking to, burn taste buds off with sours. We're not looking to have you go blind with bitterness in the pale ale world. We're finding a niche in super drinkable, super relatable, super quality, consistent craft beer, and that's hopefully what you guys are catching with Ofer, our cold IPA here.
Did you have to tweak the recipe a few times to get it to where you wanted, or was it good right out of the tank?
No, we had to mess with it a little bit. We actually backed off some of the dry hopping. We were catching a little too much of the El Dorado, we thought, and some of the Sabro. Again, we didn't want that like almost meaty coconut flavor coming out of it. And we actually bumped the Mosaic a smidge to give it a little bit more of that floral. I know everybody's using Mosaic, but it's a goddamn good hop, man.
It's a winner, yeah.
So we use it too. But yeah, so we just tweaked the ratios of the three from our initial batch and landed on a really good ratio of those three.
So Tim, there's lots that we can talk about. As we've alluded to, your brewery is an expression for your mutual love for both baseball and craft beer. You got a wiffle ball field inside the brewery. You've got beautiful branding and ethos around this love of beer. But I got to start here with a gripe, honestly. Why? I was looking at your online store earlier.
Yeah.
Why don't you have Broken Bat branded wiffle ball bats available?
We have thought about it, but they break, man. They break so easily, and I think the minimums were pretty high to get them tatted up. But yeah, we have poked around the idea. So I will take the gripe head on and tell you that we've looked at it. But there's also something to be said about just that untouched yellow bat that we all saw at every sporting goods store growing up, with a little bit of dirt on it laying in the tall grass. So yeah, we try to stay pretty true to just like, man, come play wiffle ball. You can't take it seriously. Like, we've seen suits come in and they put their, athletic shoes on. You just can't be too serious. It's a fun, it turns adults into, kind of that youthful, childlike exuberance again. And yeah, it's a blast, man. We're lucky to have the space to do it, but I'll put it in the suggestion box to get the branded bats for the future.
Go ahead, Brian.
No, I was gonna say, I went looking. I was like, I saw the wiffle ball field. I was like, they got it. They gotta have branded bats or branded balls or anything. So it's very cool to see the wiffle ball concept in reality, and it actually in a brewery, and and just figured we'd start with the silly joke. Ken, please.
How's your wiffle ball curve? You got that 3 to 9 going?
Oh man, I can bend it behind you. I can bend it over the top of you. I got a little rise ball if I need to. Yeah, man. we take it pretty seriously around here, but our leagues are mostly that pitch to hit. Like we're just looking for people to have a good time. We tried a competitive league where that pitching was allowed, and we actually had to get rid of it because it got too heated. You throw a couple beers in and everybody's, oh, I would have played in the majors if I didn't blow my arm out in high school. It's like, well, okay. We're all 27 and up drinking craft beer on a Tuesday night. So just pump the brakes a little bit. But yeah, we had to get rid of the competitive night. And now we're here to hit home runs, man. Hit home runs and drink some beer, have some fun.
No, it's a lot of fun, and it's a great facility you guys have there too. I mean, 13,000 square feet. You got a huge bar, huge area. And you were scheduled to open on April 1st, 2020. What were you thinking on the timing?
Yeah, that was something, man. We had so we were moving facilities from a little 2,000 square foot basement brewery, which was really neat. It was a great space to start. Kind of a proof of concept, and
great third ward location. Lot of people walking by.
Yep, it was a great place to start, but we had bigger plans in mind back in 18, 19, and we've been planning our 3-year anniversary party that first weekend in April for about 4 months, and then the world started on fire right around St. Patrick's Day in March of 20, and we didn't have a choice. Like all of our stuff was moved out. We had beer in the tanks at the new place. So yeah, the first 3 months of operations were literally selling out of a garage door under a 10 by 10 what is it? 10 by 10 tent, excuse me.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was, it sucked, man. We couldn't have timed it any worse if we tried. So I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It sucked, but here we are having a couple beers in 2023, laughing about it a little bit.
When made it through, so that's the most important part.
Yeah.
When did people actually get to come in and see the space, and when did you open the tap room officially?
So I actually know exactly when it was, because it was the night that my wife went into labor with our second daughter.
Timing's not your thing, is it?
Yeah, really.
No, man. Life comes at me fast. I'll tell you. Sometimes I think there's somebody out there just messing with me. But it was June 18th. Was the night that we were allowed to have 25% capacity with a litany of safety precautions in place. So we had the tables were spread out to the 6 feet or 8 feet or whatever it was. We had the plexiglass up by the bar. Obviously, we were fully masked. We had to get approved by the city of Milwaukee and all the health stuff. But yeah, it was June 18th, 2020 was the first night that we were allowed to have actual people inside of our facility, and we've had folks in here pretty much every night ever since.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So your beer, Broken Bat, has been sold at American Family Field. You've brewed a collaboration beer with the beloved Tim Dillard, the excellently named Dim Tillard Pale Ale. And you even made a beer with corn that was grown at the Field of Dreams farm. But is there something in your love of baseball and beer that you haven't been able to accomplish yet?
I have not been able to crack the brewer's nut. They are, I've tried a few times. So we do have beer at American Family Field, but it is certainly not a brewer's related beer at all. And they are very protective of their brand, as they should be. But yeah, I think someday the pipe dream is to somehow break into that relationship and let them know that, we're not all just little ankle biters coming for their bottom line. With the big dogs, we're all kind of just chasing the same dream. But yeah, I would love to have some sort of collaboration with the Brewers someday, because that's certainly where my heart lies from the baseball world.
I got to dig a little bit. I just made a little stupid joke about it, but I got to dig a little bit more into the Field of Dreams thing.
Yeah.
How did that all come about? You brewed a beer with corn that was grown at that farm. Can you tell us more about that story?
Yeah, so I got a phone call about a year and a half ago from a guy in Iowa, and he was pretty much border of right where Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa meet, I think in the Dubuque area. And he had access to the farmer at the movie site for the Field of Dreams. So he was the photographer and main kind of storyteller for that site for about 20 years. And he'd always had this idea of brewing a beer with the corn. and he reached out to several breweries in Iowa. They all were uninterested. And I thought I was getting catfished, to be perfectly honest with you. I thought there's no way this cat has access to the corn, because he said it's left field, man. He said, do you remember where James Earl Jones walked out of the outfield? He's like, I could get corn from there. And I kind of fluffed him off. I said, look, if you're serious, I'm around all week. And he said, I'll be there tomorrow. And he brought about 600 pounds of corn down with certificates of authenticity and pictures, and photograph with the farmer. And I'm actually heading out with him in April to harvest this year's batch. So we'll have some photography from that. But yeah, the rest is sort of history. We branded it together. We had it available at the first Major League Baseball game that was played in year 1 at the Field of Dreams. I think that was
the Yankees and White Sox.
Yankees White Sox, yeah. Which is how it should have been the White Sox game every year, if I'm being honest. It should be like the Lions on Thanksgiving. It should have been the White Sox every year, because it was Joe. But yeah, we were there. It went over incredibly well. It went over a little too well, so some breweries from Iowa jumped on the bandwagon and did the same thing. And admittedly, from them being, from out there, it went over really well with the locals and kind of that scene. But yeah, we're gonna do it again this year. It's one of those concepts that you kind of dream about, not to be too corny and punny about it, but yeah, I thought it was a catfish. I thought a guy was just messing with me, and here we are coming up on year 3 of the project. So yeah, it's pretty cool to be a part of that.
I love the certificate of authenticity with your corn.
People need it, man. People need proof. Like, you know how it is. Like we all live on the internet nowadays. Like, it's like proof pictures or it didn't happen kind of thing. It's like, well, okay, here's the farmer, here's the certificate of authenticity, here's the pictures of him harvesting it in November, and we printed it, literally a little COA on every single can, and we gave a little kind of a little baseball card size card that said, here's the story. And again, I'm going to get out there this year, which I'm very excited about. So I'll have some proof that I was there. But yeah, people needed proof that it was real, and gosh darn it, it was real. So
Have you been out to the site before?
I hadn't before that first game. No, kind of always a bucket list thing. I know I'm only 4 hours away, which is blasphemy, but yeah, I hadn't, but I have now, and it is as cool as I had hoped. Places like that, they almost can't live up to what you have in your head from an expectation standpoint. But that Wrigley Field did its job. I hate the Cubs, but Wrigley Field is kind of in the same vein of, man, I can feel nostalgia emanating off of this place, and the Field of Dreams is kind of the same vibe.
Yeah,
that's great. Well, maybe we should open up our second beer as well. Open up the Arm Barn. I think, Tim, I think that's what you're drinking right now.
That's what I got in front of me tonight.
Yeah, great can artwork. Who does the can artwork for the brewery?
Oh, that's all up in this twisted head of mine. So yeah, it's weird how you find creative releases in life,
Absolutely.
So yeah, this is our year-round hazy 6% straight as an arrow IPA for you. So it's one utilizes Euconaut and Cashmere hops. Do a little bit of dry hopping along the way too. Make sure that flocculation is real nice, so it should be nice and hazy in the glass. A little darker than some of your standard hazies. A little of that comes from the grain bill being a little darker, but again, Carl, our head brewer, is just in love with this beer. He worked pretty hard on it. And yeah, probably my favorite variation of an IPA that we've come out with in the 5+ years we've been roaming around Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
You get the floral notes right away when you open the can. I didn't even move my nose to it, and I got it right away. It's just terrific.
Big time.
Yeah, Cashmere is such a beautiful hop. I really want that to get a lot more appreciation in the brewing world, and it blends wonderfully with the Euconaut in this beer. I get really nice pineapple aroma from it. It's an extremely smooth, drinkable beer. There's not a ton. You think a lot of times hazy IPAs, they can fall detrimental to high finishing gravities and have a lot of sugar and sweetness to them. This isn't here at all. You get a really nice smooth body, and then that beer gets out of your mouth, and you're not left with all this residual sugarness and this cloying. This is another really, really nice beer.
Well, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Yeah, we've certainly had those types of beers in the past, Brian, that you mentioned. And I think just with the amount of fun we like to have with real fruit in some of the beers, we wanted to make sure that some of those like mainstay, because not everybody likes sweet and sugars and fruits and all that stuff in their beer, which we found, over the years where it felt like a couple of years ago, it was like, let's dump every kind of sugar we can find into a beer and see what happens. And there's been kind of a big pendulum swing of people are just looking for a consistency, quality, kind of what they think beer used to taste like. And we think that Cashmere as a hop sort of lends itself really nice to that, where you'll get the vibes in the nose of some of that stone fruit, like the pineapple, like you were mentioning. But end of the day, the finish is just clean. It's not overpowering. And again, ABV, we like to keep these types of beers in that 5.5% to 6.5% range. And this one's 6 right on the dot. So you can have a couple of them and don't have to be rolled out the door at the end of the night. So.
Yeah, just want to give a shout out to some of our Beer Club subscribers joining us into the chat. Old friends of the show, Nick and Nora, with some killer puns in here. If you brew it, they will come.
Yeah, the chat's been very punny.
They said this beer is a home run, and Matt says it smells like left field and fresh pineapple. So
perfect.
Great stuff.
That's fresh cut grass, man. There's nothing better. That's a baseball player's dream right there. Fresh cut left field grass.
Yeah. So Broken Bat is located on the best named street in all of Milwaukee, Pittsburgh Street.
We are.
But more importantly, you're right across the street from the Bobblehead Hall of Fame and Museum. Mm-hmm. It also looks like Broken Bat has their own collection of bobbleheads in the tap room. And two-part question here. Do you have a bobblehead of yourself? And any plans for collaborating with the museum or working with them in any capacity?
No, and yes, I have mock-ups of me as a beer vendor as we speak. So we're hoping to have those ready for this year. So I'm talking like throwback, imagine a guy with a visor on and just the ice bin in front of him with the nice neon yellow shirt, calling beer here at a game. So we don't have it yet, but I literally have mock-ups in my inbox as we speak. And it's going through Phil and his team at the Bobblehead Museum across the street. So, those guys are amazing, man. Their facility, if anybody gets a chance to come to Broken Bat, I cannot recommend highly enough stopping over there. They have everything you could ever imagine in bobblehead form. And they've been kind enough to lend us some of their more rare ones. We actually have behind some plexiglass here at the tap room. And then, of course, we have our 7 Kyle Loesch's, 12 Derek Turnbow's, 34 Jeff Supans that nobody wanted and donated over and over and over and over again. So yeah, we have a little fun with it, but yeah, we're baseball, man, through and through. We're trying not to shove it down people's throats, but bobbleheads are a big part of the culture, and we're lucky to have neighbors that kind of share in that passion for sure.
Look, I mean, there's 10,000 breweries in America nowadays.
Yeah,
mostly everybody makes really good beer. If you have a brand and you really love it and you really feel like it's a part of you, then live it. Like don't be ashamed. Be the nerdy bobblehead baseball brewery. It's awesome.
This is us, man. Take it or leave it.
I can see the Brewers with a Broken Bat bobblehead night with 25,000 the first enter the building with a Tim Pauly bobblehead. That'd be great.
Now we're talking, Ken. Now we're talking, man. I'll throw a shirt on for the night. I'll sling some beers in section 104. You tell me when. I'll be there.
You think going into it, people are just going to be like, who is this Tim Pauly guy? Why has he got a bobblehead? And then it just turns out to be like this meme, and everybody's like, oh, I gotta get a Tim Pauly bobblehead, and then they start going for like 10 grand on eBay, and
it won't be worth the plaster they were printed on, but I'll certainly have some fun with it.
You mentioned something important that I do want to touch on. So anybody at home that ever wants to get a bobblehead of yourself, the Bobblehead Hall of Fame and Museum actually does custom bobbleheads, and anybody can reach out to them and get a quote for a custom bobblehead that they want. So if you're sitting at home listening to this being like, I want my own bobblehead, you can do it. Just look up the Bobblehead Hall of Fame and Museum in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Yeah, be great stop there, and then just like a half a block walk over to Broken Bat to see a few more bobbleheads and drink a few IPAs.
I can literally see their building from out my window where I'm sitting right now. So yeah, they're legitimately across the street. I'm not exaggerating in the it's actually 4 blocks away. Like, these guys are legit across the street from us. So pretty cool.
Well, let's talk about Milwaukee a little bit, about the Milwaukee. Brian was saying at the opening with the Milwaukee is maybe no one has as rich a beer history as Milwaukee does.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite brewery history site, either in Milwaukee or maybe somewhere else that you've gone to check out the history? I mean, Best started in 1840 in Milwaukee, but some places are even earlier than that.
Yeah, I mean, I've made an effort to lean into the history of Milwaukee. So we never want to like talk garbage about, Miller and Schlitz and Blatz and Pabst Blue Ribbon. Like, those are the guys they're beer barons. Like, we literally have a picture of the 4 beer barons plastered in our tap room because they put Milwaukee on a legitimate worldwide map for people to talk about beer. And we're kind of riding those coattails like every other brewery in the state has for 30, 40 years. And it is a rich history. It's cool. It's neat to be a part of. We're semi competing in the same market, but those guys aren't going for the folks looking for a Mexican chocolate stout with a little cinnamon and vanilla in it. Like, they're looking for Miller Lite, man. Like, that Miller Lite, Coors Light, those are the drinkers they're going for. So just from a historical standpoint in Milwaukee, I mean, I mentioned Lakefront earlier. They are the godfather of craft beer here in Milwaukee. Russ and Jim Klisch and their whole team, they're just such good people too, which is really neat. Like, there's a little bit of a stigma in craft beer. Sometimes there's a little snotty or snooty or, I'm the best kind of thing. And we really don't have that in Milwaukee, which is really neat. There was certainly a 20-year period where it was Milwaukee Brewing Company, Lakefront Brewing Company, and Miller. And then all of a sudden, kind of 2015 happened, and we were part of that first wave. And now there's 30 plus breweries in the kind of metro Milwaukee area, and it's really cool. Like, we've become sort of a craft beer destination in the Midwest, where back in the day it was more of a, well, let's go to the Miller tour and see vats that are the size of the Titanic. And now we had a brewery with 7-barrel tanks in a basement of a commercial facility. That was awesome. And you just get a little bit of everything here in Milwaukee, and just proud to be a part of it, man. So yeah, almost 6 years in, it's a neat group to be a part of, and we're growing. There's more coming. So I don't know if they're all public yet, but there's more coming, and we're excited.
Yeah, it's definitely good to see that happen in a city like Milwaukee, that, you don't, I'm not going to spoil anything here, but we're not going to be featuring Golden, Colorado on here, the home of Coors, because it's pretty much Coors and like maybe 3 or 4 other breweries in that city. But like Milwaukee, man, I feel so bad now for throwing Golden, Colorado under the bus. Sorry, Golden, Colorado people. But it's so good to see that, because Milwaukee was instrumental in beer becoming what it is in America nowadays. Through the turn of the century, the propagation of pasteurization and all these processes and packaging that are just so common in every brewery nowadays. Milwaukee, deserves all the credit they're getting, and deserves all the hubbub that they're going to get now and moving forward with the awesome craft beer scene that they have now. Because
for sure,
here's the secret of American craft beer, and here's basically what we've been doing, featuring all these Midwest cities. The Midwest is loaded with like a shitload of really good beer cities.
There is so much good beer come between here, Minnesota, Iowa, Michigan. I mean, Illinois obviously is just loaded in the Chicagoland area, but no, we are flush with delicious craft beer. And the cool part is it's driving all of us to stay, good and try to be better. And, I think the oddly unique part about craft beer is there's such a camaraderie around cities. Like we kind of realize, as the tide rises, all ships rise, and we want to be a place where folks are coming from, Fife, Washington, in the corner of the state or the corner of the country, and Miami, Florida, and like we got to go to Milwaukee just for a weekend, and then we got to come back because we missed 12 breweries that all sound amazing, and then we got to come back in 5 years because there's 10 more breweries.
Yeah.
And that's that. I feel like that's where we're headed as a city. And Milwaukee's in. I know there's ups and downs of every metropolitan city across the country, but we are incredibly proud of what Milwaukee's doing. It feels revitalized. It feels healthy. Our downtown is kind of booming with construction, which is always a good sign. And we're kind of right in the heart of it. So knock on wood, we're in a good spot after 3 shitty years to just be all right for a little while. So yeah, very, very proud of what Milwaukee's and greater Milwaukee too is doing right now. And yeah, man, there's a lot of good beer out here.
Yeah, there's a lot of good things happening out in Wauwatosa, out in Waukesha, up north. Down south might need a little bit more help, but
yeah, Amazon keeps buying up bajillion acre plots of land down there, so there's a ton of room for breweries down there. But yeah, no, we're lucky to be where we are, and very proud of the kind of the reputation that Milwaukee currently has from a beer scene.
So before we get to our typical closing question, I do want to jump to the chat again. Good friends Nick and Nora. I know, full disclosure, I know nothing about baseball. I grew up in Pittsburgh. I have never seen a successful baseball team. I don't know what that looks like. But Nick and Nora want to know, Tim, what are your thoughts on the new rules? I guess there's rule changes in MLB coming this year.
There's a lot of rule changes. So the big one is there's a clock in the game of baseball for the first time in 150 years. So I'm a fan of the concept, but I think there are some pretty egregious kinks getting worked out in spring training right now. So I would love to see a couple more seconds added on to the pitch clock, which is currently at 20 seconds. And hitters really have about 5 or 6 seconds to get their shit together and get in the box. Otherwise they get an automatic strike called on them. So I think that needs to be worked out a little bit. I'd hate to see like a playoff game ended on basically a no pitch strike or something like that.
The batter wasn't looking at the pitcher. Yeah.
Seriously, like it's been happening in spring training and it looks goofy, but I do love the games are down from like 3 hours and 15 minutes. They're down to like 2.5, 2:20, start to finish, which is much more palatable. The bases being bigger, I don't get it, but I'm indifferent on the bases looking like a bigger pizza box.
It might increase steals a little bit more. Might.
Either you're fast or you're not. I mean, you had Scott Pasetnik back in the day, Ken. Either you can swipe a bag or you can't, man.
That's true. That's true. I got to tell you though, Tim, I was down to a minor league game in Charlotte last year. Yeah. And we got to the 5th inning and we were barely an hour into the game. I looked over my wife and said, "What is going on here? This is baseball on a treadmill. It's going so fast." Yeah. And maybe beer sales might get hurt with that, and they might tweak the time a little bit just because they're not selling enough beer. But it was faster. It was you could get in and out in a couple hours. That wasn't a bad time.
Yeah, I think I hope they're looking for a sweet spot in that like 2:15 to 2.5 hours, because again, it's not a family friendly event at the moment. There's nobody under the age of 30 that wants to sit there for 4 hours and watch, guys adjusting their batting gloves and stepping out of the box and walking around and all that crap. So it'll be interesting. I think the pickoff, you can only throw over to first base a few times before the runner either gets second base or, you have to go home with it. So that'll be interesting. And then the no shift I'm a huge fan of that, because I always felt bad for the big lefties that they kind of can't help it. You get pitched inside and you got to pull the ball and you're hitting it into 5 defenders. So I think it's a lot of good things. I hate Rob Manfred, for anybody listening. That guy's an absolute jackwagon, but at least he's got the right people in his ear trying to help the game and stay up with the times a little bit, because baseball is a historically old, nostalgic, stick with what's worked type of sport. So it's good to see they're trying at least. It's not wiffle ball yet. It's not 40-minute games quite yet, but they're heading in the right direction. So I'm a fan of most of the stuff.
I'll tell you, as an outside objective third party, that seems like they're really trying. It seems like a lot of role changes. So hopefully that works out for all the baseball fans. My heart goes out to you. I'm a hockey fan, so we've dealt with our ups and downs, and
It's all right.
good to see baseball fans getting the game times down.
Maybe the Pirates will be good someday, Brian.
Hey, what was that, 2013?
Yeah, they had that one playing game
year,
that they
man.
lost. One season over 500, and then a single playing game that they lost.
I'm a Brewers fan. I didn't go to the playoffs for 25 years growing up, so don't worry about it.
Look, we got the Steelers and the Penguins. We'll be okay. We'll be all right here. Yeah.
All right.
So Tim, we've talked about a lot of stuff. Your love for baseball, your love for beer, your wonderful brewery, your upcoming, soon to be released bobblehead. But overall, what is one thing that you wish Milwaukee was more well known for?
I wish that we were a little bit more well known for. I don't want to call it a vacation. We're not a vacation town, but I've seen a couple articles out. I think the New York Times even released something last summer of like Milwaukee being a hidden gem in the Midwest. If you imagine Chicago and you just shrink it all down and then cut the prices in half, we pretty much we're the little brother or little sister of Chicago. We have everything you could imagine. We have music festivals that are world-class. We have a lakefront that is absolutely stunning. They've cleaned it up completely. We have a river scene that's wonderful. You can boat up to restaurants and bars all over the city. Our accommodations are through the roof. We've had a bunch of smaller niche hotels go up recently. And then the culinary and beer scene is it's fantastic, man. So we're hoping that becomes a little bit more mainstream knowledge here in the next few years, especially with getting back to hosting conventions and, having tons and hordes of people coming here and getting Miller Park. It's still Miller Park, by the way. It's not AmFam Field.
Sorry.
It's Miller Park, but just getting people back out. Would love people to know what a cool place, especially from kind of that Memorial Day to Labor Day. You're not going to find a better city in the Midwest to have some fun than Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And for that, I hope everybody listening and thinking about coming to Milwaukee picks May, June, July, August, somewhere in there. Come have some fun, catch some good weather, baseball, beer, music, food. It's a pretty awesome place in the summer.
You can even go after August and just hang out at some places when the Packers are on and have the time of your life and have the time of your life too.
I don't want to hear any winter jackets and 60-degree talk. That's the only thing I worry about. Nobody's allowed to bark about it being cold when it's 60. Because I was in t-shirt and shorts the other day at 43 and sunny. So, but yeah, if you can handle the fall weather, man, it's beautiful, and Packer season is special. And the Badger, I'm a Marquette grad, so I'm not a big Badger guy, but college football is huge out in the Madison area, and Green Bay is just needle in a haystack when it comes to cities in this country with a professional football team and about 10,000 people in there, or 100,000 people in their population. But Milwaukee, especially for about 6 months out of the year when there aren't piles of snow around, it's a pretty special place. So.
Well, that's great to hear. I'm excited to talk more throughout this month, Ken, with you about Milwaukee and the City Brew Tours location that's going to be opening there. But this is going to do it for us tonight. Tim, where can people find Broken Bat beer?
We are distributed pretty much all Southeast Wisconsin and up in the greater Green Bay area, but some stores that are really pushing us are Ray's over in Tosa. Otto's has about 8 locations in the greater Milwaukee area. They're an awesome place. All the Piggly Wigglies are carrying us. Festival Foods, some of the new Hy-Vees that just came out are carrying us. Total Wine. But pretty much anywhere the craft beer is sold, we're starting to penetrate the market pretty good. But if you're out and about, look for this pretty cans with a little baseball pun on it, and hopefully some pretty delicious beer inside. Give us a shot. And then, of course, come check out the tap room if you're ever in the neighborhood. We'd love to pour you a couple pints.
Yeah, don't forget, it's on East Pittsburgh Street. Wait, you guys have Piggly Wigglies up there? I thought Piggly Wigglies were only in the South. I can't get a good Wegmans here. Now I know that the Piggly Wiggly just skipped over Pennsylvania. And
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we've got the wobbly sow here.
Oh, yeah. You betcha.
Wobble.
That's a mainstay, man. We got plenty of them. I can probably think of 10 or 15 of them in the greater Milwaukee metropolitan area. But yeah, Piggly Wiggly, man. They got the best frozen pizza selection around. They got a pretty good craft beer selection too. So.
Well, as my koozie says, I'm big on the pig.
There you
I'm
go.
Big fan of the pig.
Shout out the pig, man.
This has been an absolute pleasure, Tim. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you guys.
Anybody that's
Cheers,
looking.
Tim.
Anybody that's looking to follow the story of Broken Bat and what they're doing in these coming months and coming years, you can find them on Instagram at Broken Bat Brew. Of course, you can find us at brewvana.com. Thanks to Broken Bat for supplying beers for the show and also for our beer club. You can go to brewvana.com and check out our beer club subscription options. Get beers like these sent to you on a monthly basis, and also help them support the show. We're going to be back next week with another featured brewery, Gathering Place Brewing Company out of, you guessed it, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. But until then, stay safe, be kind, and support local breweries, everybody. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Thank you, Tip. Thanks for watching Brews Less Traveled on YouTube. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more interviews with brewery professionals.